सो हेलो गाइस, वेलकम बैक टू द वीडियो। आज हम पार्ट 2 शुरू कर रहे हैं, चैप्टर 1 अ पीरियड ऑफ ट्रांजिशन। तो लेट्स स्टार्ट द पार्ट 2 ऑफ चैप्टर 1। फिल्म्स, फोटोग्राफ्स एंड वीडियो टेप्स। Films and pictures portray lives on famous people and events. The impact of such films or video clipping is more permanent as compared to the impact of other sources. These movies are available over the internet and are known as digital archives. Films and pictures portray the lives of people and events which lived in the past, and the impact of such films on today's generation is or video clippings of that generation is more permanent as compared to the impact of other sources on today's generation. These movies are available over the internet today, and these movies are known as digital archives. In these paragraphs, you should underline these movies are available over the internet and are known as digital archives. This is a very important point of this paragraph. In order to efficiently administrate India, British government felt the need to map the subcontinent, for which they got various surveys conducted. They set up the Survey of India at Dehradun. In order to efficiently administrate the India, the British government felt the need of map of the subcontinent India, for which they set up various surveys in India. They set up the Survey of India at Dehradun. This was the main survey in India which was set up at Dehradun. From there, it was a center of survey. Elaborate maps were drawn up showing the location of towns and cities with various features such as flora and fauna, demography, topography. The elaborate maps were drawn up showing the location of the towns and cities with various features such as flora and fauna, demography and topography. Secondary sources. These includes reports, reviews, articles, reference sources like encyclopedia and printed books. Based on the primary sources, Indologists such as James Mill, Max Muller and Vincent Six took keen interest in Indian culture. Many Indologists like James Mill, Max Muller and Vincent Smith took interest in the Indian culture and examines many ancient Indian texts which were forwardly written by Tulsidas. Through these texts, the British tried to understand the Indian tradition, customs and norms that would help them to rule efficiently. Through these texts, the British tried to understand the Indian culture, customs and norms and tradition which would help them to rule over the country efficiently. These colonial writers projected the view that India was a backward country and that the British rule was blessing in disguise of India. These colonial writers projected that the view of India is backward and the country that British is ruling on it was a disguise for India. However, the national writers such as Bankim Chandra Chopadhyay wanted to rediscover India's glorious past. The national writer such as Bankim Chandra Chopadhyay wanted to rediscover the India's glorious parts. Dadabhai Naoroji's poverty was a very known un-British rule in India, and Jawaharlal Nehru's Discovery of India was the book written by Jawaharlal Nehru, and Dadabhai Naoroji's poverty is an example of un-British rule in India, and this is also a book expose the negative impact of British rule, and these two books expose the negative impact of British rule, highlighting India's glorious past, and they highlight the India's glorious past. The grievances of the India against the British rule highlights India's glorious past. The grievances of India against the British rule were reflected in many writings. One One such is Neel Darpan, which was written by Deenbandhu. And Neel Darpan is a book which is written by Deenbandhu Mitra, who was also a famous writer of Indian freedom fighters. Now we move to our next topic. Renaissance. The term Renaissance means rebirth. The term which is known as Renaissance, its meaning is rebirth in French language. Renaissance began in Italy in around the 14th century. In Italy, it began first. The Renaissance in the 14th century, it ushered in the modern period in Europe. Scientific methods of inquiry become popular in this age. This was the age of reasoning, questioning, observation, and experimentation. In this age, there were many reasons, questions, and observation of the church. In this age, the authority of church was challenged, and people were asked not to follow the church blindly. And people were not following the church blindly without any reason. They were encouraged to judge things on the basis of reasoning rather than superstition. They were encouraged to judge the things on reason than to superstition. The movement spread to other parts of the world through trade and other means. This movement spread to the other parts of the world through trade and other means of transport. The age of Renaissance started reflecting its presence in art, architecture, literature, new presence in art, and new discoveries, which is a main cause of Renaissance. Distinct elements of humanism, realism, spirit of reasoning, rationalism, and scientific inquiries became popular in this age. The Renaissance also influenced the worlds of politics, religion, and society. All these factors contributed strongly in changing the outlook of European people towards the forever. These 5 lines are very important in these paragraphs, so you can just underline it. The Renaissance influenced the politics, religion, and society of this time because this was a very encouraging religion, society, and politics, because that was very much at that time. Thank you. This will be continued in the part 3 of this chapter.